What it do, anime crew? Amen. Listen, today I'm here with another rant request. This one's from Aesop. He requested that I watch the comedy/crime movie Bottle Rocket, which was I believe, the debut film of extremely famous and beloved director Wes Anderson. So, I thought it was pretty damn good. I thought it had a lot of charm to it. There were some jokes that really landed. I definitely enjoyed the ending. It's a strange movie for sure, and I hear that it's one of the more subdued works of Wes Anderson as he was still coming into his style, but I can absolutely see the charm of it. There's a weird thing going on with the maturity level of the characters. If you come from anime, you'd probably know this archetype as Chunibyo, or at least Chunibyo adjacent, where they're all basically just kids and they act incredibly childishly, but they have delusions of grandeur and they think that they're engaged in all of these extremely serious affairs, and they are, but it's a little bit hard to explain because it's basically just that they take the world gravely seriously, but they don't interact with the world in a gravely serious manner. It's like the world just isn't serious. This world isn't serious, but it also is. It's extremely hard to describe, honestly. But the point is that they're all a little bit clueless. None of them really communicate with each other that well. I found throughout the first several scenes in the movie that just no one's listening to each other. Everybody's just kind of got their own thing. The Diggin is just trying to, have his grand heist and reunite with the guy who was originally his mentor in the Shell lawnmower lawn mowing company, landscaping. And then, the other guy who's trying to find love and, it's kind of along with Diggin for the ride and sort of resonates with him, but, isn't as dedicated to that criminal lifestyle that he's so obsessed with for some reason. And then there's just a rich guy who has nothing better to do and no self-esteem, and he just has a car and kind of helps out. He's unfortunate. He's a sad one, but he's just looking for some sense of community, essentially. And none of them are listening to each other ever, especially in the scene. It's a pretty funny scene where the rich guy's keeps fiddling with the gun. He's like, hey, stop fiddling with the gun. He's like, I bought the gun. And then they go into the other room and they argue and they're like, no, we're a team, we're not a team. And the guy's just messing with the gun in the meantime because he can't help himself. And it's no matter what they say to get through to each other, what they see as gravely serious, nobody's fucking listening. Which is why it's so perfect that the guy who fell in love with a girl who could barely understand what he was saying. And he could barely understand what she was saying. Because he would talk to her when she basically didn't know any English, in English frequently, but then anytime she talked to him in Spanish, he'd be like, what? What? I don't speak Spanish. He's really dumb. They're all really dumb. And it's the world takes turns being a straight man and just also being dumb as fuck. All the people in the crew with Applejack and Mr. Henry, I think his name was, they're all just as wacky and zany of characters as the main ones are. But then, the little brother, Inez, most of the auxiliary characters are very straightforward, I would say. There's also the, extremely stereotypical, jock archetype that is the older brother of Bob, the rich guy, which was really interesting to see. It kind of gave the whole film, they're adult characters, but it does not feel like a movie about adults, They all have this very childlike sense of wonder to them, to where it's this is how a child sees the adult world and the ambitions that they want to fulfill before they sort of become a little bit more jaded and cynical by actually being a part of it and being a part of the workforce and all that. But it's very distinctly childish, and which is best communicated by the fact that the guy's little sister, elementary school age sister, the main character, she talks down to him and shows a greater sense of emotional maturity and awareness of what's going on than him in one of the first scenes. And then he's kind of a little insecure that she doesn't maybe look up to him, because at the end of the day, he's he thinks he's chasing dreams that are like very important, and in a way he is, because they are to him, but they're also really stupid, and he's really stupid with the way he goes about them, and it's not really realistic at all. And it's kind of like with all these guys, it's like the destination is in mind, but they don't really know how to get there, and they just kind of do it. Like they just kind of like just brute force their way through life with their like unrivaled whimsy, which is obviously like a character dynamic that's pretty pleasant to watch unfold. But like they're not especially careful about anything, but until the end, none of them really get caught until there's like this big dramatic sequence. And you know, it's not really the most like high stakes, blood boiling, like thrilling caper film or anything like that. But it's just got like consistent comedy throughout, and just this very bizarre, difficult to pin down tone. Like, is it like I don't know, it's almost like a nostalgic feeling, because you have like the weird high school bully archetypes and the weird like selectively absurd world building with these like wacky characters that don't totally make any sense, and then a mostly totally normal world. And then, you know, you've got these characters that have these sort of like Chunibyo-esque mindsets, and they have these like bizarre interactions with each other, and nobody's really listening to each other. It's just it's so weird. It's like 3 stories in one, just how you wish you could still view the world. And I think in that sense it's a pretty refreshing watch, probably for a lot of people who have become more jaded. It harkens to a simpler time, and it does that in a very well-rounded sense, because it's an aesthetic effort that in a lot of subtle ways seems to evoke a sense of childlike wonder, especially with like the outfit design and stuff like that. They're wearing a bunch of these big, dumb, bright colors. They got like these banana colored jumpsuits by the end. And then it's just, it never takes itself too seriously. There's my favorite joke in the whole movie was when the old guy, like, they didn't really give him much of a character, but he was the old guy, and it was like, oh my god, why were you just standing there? He's like, I forgot, you know, we're on a heist or whatever, you know, it's just weird, like, he was just standing there not really doing anything. He's like, I'm sorry, man, I'm sorry. And then they find him, I think it's the same guy, he's just shivering in the freezer, like, about to freeze, and they're like, oh my god, what are you doing? He's like, I'm sorry, man, I lost my touch. It's like, not to explain the joke, but it's like he's saying I lost my touch, but losing his touch is walking into a freezer, forgetting why he walked in, and then being stuck there. It's like, what was your touch to begin with? It's just really goofy, because the implication is that this guy has been through many a successful heist with Mr. Henry and all that. It's just another one of those like things in the story that reinforce the tone of nothing really making sense, but everything working out in the end, you know? And I feel like that's kind of what's at the heart of the Chunibyo mindset. It's just like, a lot of times, in anime specifically, it's used to characterize pretty sheltered people, and it sort of just really reflects that everything is going to work itself out, everything is going to be alright mindset. And that's why my favorite quote in the movie was when Diggin was like going in to save the last guy, because that was what he wanted to do. He wanted to have that like epic, intense moment running from the cops, and he said something along the lines of like, they can never take me. It's like, they can never convict me or something. They can never find me guilty because I'm fucking innocent. And it's like, he's not saying he's innocent for the crime. He's just that pure-hearted. And he's just, like, his intentions are pure. He doesn't actually, it's like he doesn't even think of the fact that he's stealing from people. And he's probably just stealing from a company. It's probably not that big of a deal anyways, but he is, like, you know, putting guns to people's heads and shit. And he's like, because he is just so wholesomely appreciating the drive of life, you know, like the thrill of life, and he's just like doing this for the love of the game. It's like, he might get caught, but that's just the way it goes, you know? And that's just another part of his story, and he would like never let that get him down, because like at the end of the day, above all else, he has meaning in his life, and he's gonna pursue it with everything he has. And it's that really innocent drive to just be great and, you know, be a dreamer that a lot of us probably wish we had a lot more of. But, you know, in reality, this kind of thing wouldn't work out. And so it's nice to watch it unfold in this weird, sort of hazy, absurd, nostalgic movie form. I really liked it. I thought it was pretty good. I I think I just cut my lip. All right. Well, all right. You guys have a good night.